In this video, I'd like to show you how ChatGPT, the latest model, which is O3, the most probably the most intelligent model, if we actually can say that, how it refactored my code. So as it was previously, so to give you some context, I'm building a interpreter for another programming language, but using Kotlin as main language. So here the project, it contains most of the code files are Kotlin files. There are some Python script for convenience, but most of the files, as you can see, they belong to src directory, and it contains integration tests and main with all of the the code that is interpreter for another language called logs. Logs is dynamically typed language as of now. Yeah, so that's basically it. And yeah, so we have compiled languages and interpreted languages. And as you can see here, I have interpreter class, which orchestrates or handles all of the operation regarding interpreting this programming language. And yeah, so what was the idea? My idea is that I do not really like huge files like that. It contains, as you can see, 134 lines of code, but it is not so big file. Usually I refactor in production systems. I refactor when I see around 200 lines of code, but actually it depends on the problem, on the code itself, what it does. Maybe in some cases we can have really huge files, and there are more reasons to have multiple lines of code within the single file. But still, if I have opportunity to split huge files into manageable components, then I prefer doing that. And in this case, what is the sign of why I would like to split this file is that we have multiple entry points to this class, to the object of this class. When we instantiate this interpreter class, that is, we are getting object of this class, then you can see that there are exactly two entry points to this interpreter object or interpreter class, that is evaluate method and interpret method. So evaluate method, it deals with expressions, as you can see, expressions of programming language. It has this when expression, and it delegates the resolution of each expression variant to private methods within this class. In some cases, it makes a recursive call to this evaluate method itself, but other guys, they are just plain private methods within this class. As you can see, I can jump between them here and here and here and here. So as you can see, this is the first method, and the second method is interpret. So only those two are public methods. That is two entry points to this object or this class. All of the other components of this class or object are private. You can see private fields, or in Kotlin world, they are called not fields but properties, and as well as other private methods within this class. You can see. And the sign why I would like to split this class is that we have, of course, two entry points, and private members of this class, they are not really related to each other. So we have one you can see part of coming from public method interpret, where we have execute here, only one private method. Also has evaluate, it also calls evaluating, and we have evaluate as public method. So you can see that they are actually I thought that they are not connected, but they actually connected, because interpret at the very in this execute method, it calls evaluate method. So they are, we can see that they are somehow, related to each other. So it is not really easy task to split. But if we had two not related methods, public methods, we could actually split this class easily. And okay, so what I said to ChatGPT is that I need just to perform refactoring to split this interpreter big class into managed components, into multiple classes. So what it proposed is that extracted to environment class, also expression evaluator. Also, this is the old interpreter. Also, operation registry to register constants, and statement executor as well. And what we can do with this interpreter is that we can now just remove all of that code because it already extracted to all of these components, and then just leave this lightweight, let's call it facade, because we have only like lightweight methods to communicate with internal components, and the internal components are evaluator and executor in this context. So what I really like about ChatGPT is that it understood completely the task and made refactoring, a safe refactoring, because those two public methods, they were in big interpreter class before, exactly the same. Like the signature of those two methods are not changed, and this is some of the guarantee that we do not need right now to change the client code which calls those methods. In this context, we have evaluate command handler, which calls this evaluate method, and as well as interpret method, which is called from run command handler. So this is really cool about ChatGPT, which I really like about. And by the way, my workflow right now is not, I'm not using really Juni, which you probably heard about. This is like new coding agent from JetBrains, but I do not like to use it because it's extremely slow right now and stupid. And instead, what I do is that I use Hack. I have this Python script which goes and copies everything I have in this project. I mean, only Kotlin files it copies and puts it into clipboard. And yeah, and what I do is that I go to ChatGPT and submit all of the code, and then uh, say what I actually need. So this is really a fantastic workflow that everyone can use, but of course it is limited to only pet projects and on projects that allow us to communicate with AI. So not every production project, not every client agreed to use AI in their workflows, and usually what they have is each client in good scenario, they have some kind of policy to use AI. So you can adapt the script to, for example, exclude some of the files, or some um, or actually you can make your code, like you can preprocess your code in order to change the variable names, obfuscate it somehow. But I not about really obfuscating, just I'm just regarding the changing the meaning of variables, so that not to reveal some of the domain specific names, for example, some abbreviations that project do not want to relieve. But yeah, so this is like my thoughts out of the. So I'm really happy about this workflow, which works for my pet project, where I can practice Kotlin and learn more Kotlin to be a better software developer, engineer. So right now I will review this code, maybe fix some of the highlights which detected from detect, which is popular in Kotlin development, popular, let's call it like alternative to Sonar from Java world. And as well, we have KT-lint for formatting, but I already have pre-commit to automatically format my Kotlin code, so that I do not need to manually some developers manually adjust the positioning in order to the code to look better. But in my case, this is automated, which is super cool. Yeah, so that's basically it. Thanks for watching. Bye.